Crypto's biggest problem isn't the technology or the regulations. It's that everything moves like a roller coaster. Bitcoin swings 20% in a day, Ethereum crashes 40% overnight, and your portfolio feels like it's attached to a bungee cord. But there's a $250 billion corner of the crypto market that barely moves at all. And most investors either ignore it completely or have no idea how to use it. These are called stablecoins, and they're quietly changing everything about how money moves around the world. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what they are, how they work, and how to use them to make your crypto strategy sharper.
But first, this video is for informational purposes only and does not constitute financial, investment, or legal advice. Trading and Investing Hub is not a licensed financial advisor. Please do your own research and consult with a qualified professional before making any financial decisions.
A stablecoin is a digital asset pegged to a stable real-world asset, almost always the US dollar. So one token is always worth $1. It lives on the blockchain, which means you can send it anywhere in the world, 24/7, settling in minutes, no bank required. That combination of dollar stability plus blockchain speed is the whole point. Now, not all stablecoins achieve that stability the same way, and the differences matter a lot for your risk exposure. There are four main types. Fiat-backed stablecoins are the simplest. Think of them as digital IOUs. For every token in circulation, the issuer holds one real dollar, or an equivalent like a short-term treasury bill, in a bank account. USDC works this way. Circle, the company behind it, holds the reserves and publishes monthly audited reports so you can verify the backing yourself. It's straightforward. You give them $1, they give you a token, and you can redeem that token for your dollar anytime. Crypto-backed stablecoins take a different approach because they want to avoid relying on a centralized company. DAI is the main example. To mint $100 worth of DAI, you lock up around $200 worth of Ethereum as collateral inside a smart contract. That over-collateralization, depositing more than you borrow, creates a buffer so that even if Ethereum drops in value, there's still enough backing to keep DAI at $1. No bank involved, but it's more complex to manage. Commodity-backed stablecoins work like a digital ownership certificate for a physical asset. Paxos Gold, or PAXG, is the clearest example. Each token represents 1 troy ounce of real gold sitting in a vault. You get the price stability of gold with the transferability of a digital token. The trade-off is that gold's price still moves, so these aren't pegged to $1 the way fiat-backed coins are. Then there are algorithmic stablecoins, and this is where you need to pay close attention because the history here is brutal. These had no real collateral backing them at all. Terra USD, or UST, tried to hold its dollar peg through an arbitrage mechanism with a sister token called Luna. When UST slipped below $1, the system minted new Luna to buy it back. But that flooded the market with Luna, crashing its price, which destroyed confidence in UST, which triggered more selling. A death spiral that wiped out roughly $45 billion in value in a matter of days in May 2022. That's not a cautionary tale about one bad project. It's proof that stablecoins without real collateral are a trap. The two coins you'll actually use are USDT and USDC. Tether, or USDT, has around $120 billion in circulation and handles more trading volume than any other stablecoin. USDC sits at roughly $35 billion, but has a stronger transparency record with those monthly audited reserve reports. The peg itself stays at $1 through arbitrage. If USDC trades at $1.01, traders buy it from Circle for $1 and sell it on the market, pushing the price back down. If it drops to 99 cents, they buy cheap and redeem at face value. That constant pressure keeps the price anchored, though as you'll see in the risk section, it's not bulletproof. So now you understand the mechanics. Here's where it actually affects your portfolio. The most immediate use case is protecting your gains during a market downturn. Say you bought Bitcoin at $30,000 and it's now sitting at $60,000. You want to lock in some of that profit, but you don't want to wire money back to your bank and wait 3 to 5 business days while the market keeps moving. With stablecoins, you convert that Bitcoin to USDC directly on the exchange in minutes. Your profit is preserved in dollar terms, your funds stay inside the crypto ecosystem, and you can redeploy instantly when the setup you're looking for shows up. No wire fees, no settlement delays, no being stuck on the sidelines while a new opportunity opens. Here's a concrete scenario. Bitcoin drops 15% overnight. If you'd already moved 30% of your holdings into USDC when things look stretched, you now have dry powder to dollar cost average back in as it finds support. That kind of agility is genuinely hard to replicate through a traditional brokerage account. The second use case is earning yield. And this is where the gap between crypto and traditional finance is hardest to ignore. A standard savings account pays somewhere around 0.5% annually right now. DeFi lending protocols like Aave and Compound regularly pay 4 to 8% on stablecoin deposits. The mechanism is straightforward. You deposit USDC into a lending pool, borrowers put up crypto collateral worth more than what they're taking out, and you earn a share of the interest they pay. You're not speculating on price, you're lending stable dollars and collecting a return. You can also provide liquidity to decentralized exchanges through yield farming. You deposit 2 tokens into a pool, traders pay fees to swap between them, and those fees flow back to you as the liquidity provider. The returns can be higher, but so is the complexity. Smart contracts can have bugs, protocols can get exploited, and market conditions shift fast. A rule of thumb: if you're new to DeFi, start with a small amount on an established protocol before committing serious capital. Cross-border payments are another place where stablecoins just work better than the existing system. The average global remittance fee was 6.49% in 2025, according to the World Bank. On a $1,000 transfer, that's $65 gone before the money arrives. A stablecoin transfer on a low-cost blockchain costs $2 to $5 and settles in minutes. That's not a marginal improvement, it's a completely different model. In Latin America, Bitso already processes millions in monthly remittances using USDC. Globally, the number of freelancers getting paid in stablecoins grew 39% year over year in 2025. Because for people earning across borders, faster and cheaper settlement actually changes what they take home. For active traders, stablecoins are the connective tissue of the entire market. More than 80% of crypto trading volume involves a stablecoin on one side of the pair, according to Federal Reserve data. Instead of converting Bitcoin directly to Ethereum, you go Bitcoin to USDC to Ethereum. This structure creates deeper liquidity, tighter spreads, and makes it faster to move capital between exchanges when prices diverge. When you spot an arbitrage opportunity on a different platform, you can move USDC there in minutes rather than waiting for a bank transfer to clear. And for anyone outside of developed economies, stablecoins solve a problem that doesn't get enough attention. In Argentina, where inflation has run above 100% annually, or Turkey, where the lira has lost significant purchasing power over recent years, holding local currency is a losing strategy. With a smartphone and an internet connection, anyone can hold USDC and protect their savings in dollar terms. That's financial access that doesn't require a bank account or a stable local currency. None of this comes without risk, and you need to understand the main ones before putting real money in. Depegging is the most visible risk. In March 2023, USDC dropped to 88 cents after Circle disclosed that $3.3 billion of its reserves were held at Silicon Valley Bank, which had just failed. For 48 hours, every dollar of USDC was worth 88 cents. The peg recovered once regulators guaranteed SVB deposits, but it showed how quickly confidence can crack, even for a well-backed, transparent stablecoin, when something goes wrong with the institutions holding the reserves. Counterparty risk follows directly from that. Fiat-backed stablecoins require you to trust a centralized company to manage reserves responsibly. Tether has faced years of questions about whether its reserves fully match its token supply. Transparency isn't optional here, it's the only real signal of safety. Look for monthly audited reserve reports from a named accounting firm before trusting any stablecoin with significant capital. Regulatory risk is real, but shifting in a more predictable direction. The US Genius Act, signed in July 2025, now legally requires compliant stablecoin issuers to maintain one-to-one backing in cash or short-term government securities, publish monthly audited disclosures, and guarantee redemption rights. That framework reduces the risk for compliant coins considerably. Finally, smart contract risk applies whenever you use stablecoins inside DeFi protocols. The stablecoin itself might be solid, but the protocol you deposit it into could have a vulnerability. Never put more into experimental protocols than you can afford to lose completely. Stablecoins aren't an investment, they're a tool, and a useful one if you know how to use them. Start with a regulated audited option, like USDC. Keep risk in proportion to how well you understand what you're putting money into and build from there. If this helped, hit the like button and subscribe for more trading and investing resources. And drop a comment below to suggest a topic to break down next.
The illest ciphers open, no joking. Trading and Investing Hub. Yeah, that's the spot. We teach you how to get the capital and make the profits bubble up. Trading and